I never expected a simple Friday evening to turn my life upside down. My name is Alex, I'm 21, and until that night, I thought I had a fairly normal life. I worked part-time at a local bookstore, spent weekends hanging out with friends, and had a girlfriend, Emma, who I adored. But beneath all that, I had a secret. A small, private corner of myself that I had never shared with anyone, especially not with Emma. Ever since I was a teenager, I had been drawn to clothes that weren't considered mine. Dresses, skirts, soft fabrics, there was something intoxicating about the way they felt against my skin, the way they allowed me to become someone entirely different. For years, I explored it in private, hidden from the world. My wardrobe in the back of my closet contained neatly folded treasures, along with a few wigs and makeup kits that I'd purchased online. It was my escape, my sanctuary, but always temporary. I never thought anyone could discover it until Mom decided otherwise. Our apartment was small but cozy, a mixture of warm beige walls and wooden furniture, the kind of home that smelled faintly of lavender and lemon cleaner. Mom was always particular about the way things looked, from the curtains to the way the kitchen counters gleamed. It was the perfect setting for someone like me to keep my secret. But that Friday evening, the air felt different. Heavy, tense, almost as if it were warning me that my carefully hidden world was about to collide with reality. I had just gotten back from work when I noticed Mom standing in the living room, holding something behind her back. "Alex," she said, her voice unusually soft, almost coaxing. "Come here for a second." I frowned. Mom rarely spoke to me in that tone unless she was plotting something or she had an idea that would change the course of my day. Hesitant, I approached, trying to appear casual. She revealed a neatly folded dress, soft pink with delicate lace trimmings. My heart skipped a beat. "What's this?" I asked, my voice betraying my nervousness. Mom's eyes sparkled with an emotion I couldn't quite read. "Try it on," she said simply, as if it were the most natural request in the world. "Mom, what?" My voice faltered. I tried to laugh it off, but the tension in her gaze made me stop. She wasn't joking. "I want you to wear it," she continued, her tone firm yet strangely tender. "Just for tonight. I've always thought you'd look so pretty. Just try it, Alex." For me. I froze. The words echoed in my mind like a challenge, a dare, and a threat all at once. I had never imagined my private indulgence would be brought into the open, much less commanded by my own mother. My instinct screamed no, but there was a part of me, a smaller, hidden part, that thrilled at the thought. A part of me that had always wanted this, even if I hadn't admitted it to myself. Emma had no idea. My secret life, my crossdressing, had never been revealed to her. How would she react? Would she laugh, judge, or accept me? The thought of being discovered by someone I loved terrified me, but at the same time, the idea of surrendering to Mom's request ignited a forbidden excitement inside me. I glanced at the dress again, feeling the soft fabric between my fingers. It smelled faintly of lavender, like the air in our living room, and it felt impossibly delicate. I couldn't deny the allure. Slowly, reluctantly, I nodded. "Okay, I'll try it," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Mom's smile was radiant, almost triumphant.
"Good. Take your time."
"I'll be right here." I retreated to my room, my heart pounding. Closing the door behind me, I took a deep breath, my hands trembling as I unfolded the dress. It was beautiful, more beautiful than I expected. I had felt this way before, but never under such scrutiny, never with my mother watching, never with the unspoken understanding that my life was about to change. I undressed, feeling the cool air against my skin, and slowly stepped into the dress. The lace brushed against my shoulders. The soft fabric hugged my body in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. I caught my reflection in the mirror and froze. For the first time, I saw myself not as Alex, the boy, but as someone else entirely, someone delicate, fragile, beautiful. Someone my mother had imagined all along. Mom's voice broke through my reverie. "You look perfect, Alex. Just perfect." I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My mind was spinning with conflicting emotions, shame, excitement, fear, and a strange, intoxicating sense of belonging. I realized then that my life had irrevocably changed. I was no longer just hiding in the shadows of my own desires. Mom had drawn me into a new reality, one where I would live as her daughter, at least for tonight, and perhaps, I feared, for much longer. The tension was thick, almost suffocating, as I stood there, transformed yet vulnerable, caught between who I was and who I was being molded to become. My heart raced. This was only the beginning, I knew. Nothing would ever be the same again. And so, with a trembling hand, I reached for the small jewelry box Mom had left on my dresser, a delicate necklace, pink and shimmering. As I fastened it around my neck, I realized tonight wasn't just about a dress. Tonight was about surrender, about stepping into a life I had never imagined, a life that Mom had designed for me. A life where my secret desires would no longer be mine alone. And in that moment, as I glanced once more at the mirror, I couldn't help but wonder, would Emma ever recognize me? The moment I stepped out of my room, wearing the delicate pink dress, the atmosphere in the living room shifted. Mom's eyes sparkled with a strange mixture of pride and mischief, and I felt a shiver of vulnerability run down my spine. Every step I took in the soft heels she had insisted I wear made me painfully aware of my new posture, the sway of my hips, the way the skirt brushed against my thighs. I was no longer just Alex. I was her daughter, her vision brought to life. "Walk slowly," Mom instructed, her voice calm but authoritative. "Like this." I obeyed, feeling the unfamiliar weight of her expectations pressing against my chest. Each step was a negotiation between my old self and the person Mom wanted me to become. I felt exposed, every inch of me visible under her scrutinizing gaze. My hands trembled as I touched the lace on my sleeves, adjusting it repeatedly as though that could somehow make me less real, less vulnerable. "Beautiful," she whispered, as though affirming not just my appearance but the strange, hidden desire I'd never admitted to anyone. I blushed violently, wishing I could disappear, yet feeling an inexplicable thrill at her praise. I moved to the mirror, my reflection staring back at me. The face that looked out was familiar, yet alien, softer, more delicate. Mom's hands were gentle as she applied makeup, teaching me how to enhance my eyes, contour my cheeks, and choose the right shade of lipstick. Each stroke of the brush transformed me further, every moment intensifying both my excitement and my anxiety. "Relax," she said. "You're stunning. Just be yourself, my perfect daughter." Her words were sweet, but they carried a weight that made my stomach churn. I wanted to resist, to flee back into the safety of my old identity, yet I couldn't deny the intoxicating pull of her attention. Every glance, every whisper, made me feel simultaneously powerful and fragile. I was caught in a strange limbo, suspended between the boy I had always been and the girl I was becoming under Mom's insistence. As I practiced walking and sitting, I realized the true challenge wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Each movement demanded grace. Each smile required confidence I didn't feel. My body was a stranger to me, responding in ways that seemed alien yet exciting. I felt my pulse quicken, the thrill of transformation mingling with the fear of being caught, of being exposed. Mom's instructions grew more demanding. She insisted I sit properly, cross my legs elegantly, and speak softly. The house, once a place of comfort, became a stage. Every creak of the floorboards, every passing shadow felt like a potential exposure. The suspense built with each moment. What if Emma returned early? What if a neighbor happened to see me? My secret life, once private and controllable, now hung by a thread. Hours passed in a blur of practice, makeup, and self-conscious adjustment. I began to feel a strange duality. Alex, the boy I knew, and the girl Mom was shaping me into. The mirror reflected both identities at once, and I couldn't decide which was real. The excitement surged, and with it, a deep, gnawing fear. Could I ever go back to my old life? Could Emma accept this version of me if she found out? Then came the first test. Mom had arranged a small outing, a visit to a local cafe under the guise of a mother-daughter trip. My heart pounded as we stepped outside. Every passerby's gaze felt like a probe, every whisper like a judgment. My hands shook, clutching the strap of my small purse, while Mom walked beside me, smiling proudly. "Act natural," she coached. "You belong here, don't hide." I tried, faltering as the world seemed to tilt around me. The soft click of my heels on the sidewalk, the gentle sway of my skirt, the practiced tilt of my head, it all felt both exhilarating and humiliating. I was performing, yet every smile I offered to strangers, every polite nod, strengthened the persona Mom had demanded. I felt a thrilling sense of liberation, yet a heavy, suffocating tension gripped my chest. Inside the cafe, I realized the stakes were higher than I imagined. People were curious, glancing at me with surprise, some whispering, others smiling. I felt exposed, yet an unspoken satisfaction bubbled inside me. I was visible, undeniably feminine, undeniably transformed. But the thought of Emma discovering this life, of being seen by anyone I knew intimately, filled me with terror. Mom leaned in, her voice soft but firm. "You're doing beautifully. This is just the beginning." The words sank in. Just the beginning? I thought. My pulse quickened. Was there no turning back? Was this a temporary thrill, or a permanent rewrite of my identity? The suspense gnawed at me, each question unanswered, each moment a delicate dance between freedom and fear. That evening, back at home, Mom introduced the final layer, lessons in poise, etiquette, and voice modulation. She made me practice speaking softly, walking gracefully, even eating delicately. Each task felt humiliating and exciting, a test of my ability to embody her vision. The dress, the heels, the makeup, they weren't just clothes or accessories. They were symbols, tools of transformation that reshaped me physically, emotionally, and psychologically. By the time I finally collapsed into bed, exhausted and overwhelmed, I realized I was no longer just Alex. I was a girl Mom had created, a living embodiment of her expectations. And while part of me thrilled at the discovery, another part trembled, terrified of the world outside and the life I now had to navigate. The suspense was relentless. Every knock on the door, every sound from the street, felt like a potential disaster. Emma could walk in at any moment. Neighbors could gossip. The secret I had nurtured for years was now a fragile thing, dangling by a thread, and I was trapped in the delicate, terrifying balance between exposure and control. Mom's final words before leaving me alone in the house that night echoed in my mind. "Remember, my perfect daughter, this is your new life for now." Alone, dressed, and transformed, I stared at my reflection. The girl staring back at me was beautiful, poised, undeniably feminine, but she was also a prisoner of expectations, of a secret that could shatter at any moment. My heart raced, caught between exhilaration and fear, knowing that this was only the beginning of a journey I could neither predict nor escape. And as I lay in bed, listening to the distant hum of the city outside, I understood the chilling truth. I had crossed a line from which there was no immediate return. Mom had turned my secret into a spectacle, my desires into obligations, and my identity into a fragile, suspended performance. The suspense, the tension, the thrill, they were only just beginning. The next morning, the house felt different, tenser, almost alive with anticipation. Mom had gone out for errands, leaving me alone in the living room, still dressed in the pastel outfit she had insisted I wear the night before. The soft fabric of the dress clung to me in all the wrong ways, yet somehow felt impossibly right. I stared at my reflection in the hallway mirror, tracing the curve of my jaw, the sweep of my eyelashes, the shine of my hair. Each detail reminded me that I was no longer the person I had been yesterday. The silence was broken by the sudden ringing of the doorbell. My heart leapt into my throat. I wasn't expecting anyone. Mom certainly hadn't mentioned a visitor. My fingers trembled as I crossed the room, adjusting the skirt, my heels clicking nervously against the hardwood floor. When I opened the door, I froze. It was Emma. "Oh, hey," I managed, my voice higher, softer than usual. I wanted to run, to hide behind the doorframe, but my body refused. Emma's eyes widened, taking in my transformed appearance. "Alex, what happened?" she asked, a mix of confusion and amusement in her voice. I stammered, searching for words, but none came. Every explanation felt inadequate. The dress, the makeup, the carefully styled hair, they all screamed the truth, a truth I wasn't sure I could admit. Mom's voice suddenly called from the staircase. "Alex, be a good girl and greet Emma properly." I swallowed hard, realizing that Mom had orchestrated this moment, a test of my ability to maintain my new identity under pressure. My pulse raced, adrenaline surging through every nerve. Emma stepped closer, her gaze scrutinizing, her tone gentle but probing. "Are you really dressed like this?" "Yes," I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice. The high pitch, the soft lilt, it wasn't mine, yet it belonged to the girl Mom had created. Emma's expression shifted from surprise to curiosity, then amusement. "Wow, you actually look incredible. But why?" Before I could respond, Mom appeared behind her, a sly smile on her face. "Alex has been practicing," she said, her eyes glinting with satisfaction. "Isn't that right, my perfect daughter?" I felt my cheeks burn. The situation was spiraling. Every word, every glance, amplified the tension. Emma was close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her, yet distant enough that I felt trapped between desire and fear. "Practice," Emma repeated, glancing from me to Mom. "Well, what's going on here?" Mom's tone was light, teasing, yet carried a subtle edge. "Alex has been exploring a different side of himself, a side that's more feminine." The words hit me like a shockwave. My secret, my private exploration, was now laid bare before Emma.
Panic surged.
I wanted to run, to hide, to peel off the dress and flee back into safety, but my body, trained under Mom's insistence, refused. I was locked in a performance I couldn't escape. Emma's gaze softened, though curiosity lingered. "So, this is you? The girl version of Alex?" "Yes," I whispered, my voice shaking. "Mom, she helped me become her perfect daughter." The tension between us was electric. Emma's fingers brushed mine accidentally as she reached out, and a jolt of both fear and exhilaration ran through me. I realized that every step, every glance, every word now carried consequences I couldn't predict. My heart pounded in my chest as the thrill of exposure mixed with the terror of judgment. Then, just as the moment seemed unbearable, a loud knock echoed from the front door again. My stomach sank. Another visitor? Or worse, someone who could expose me to the outside world? I glanced at Mom, who merely winked, her expression unreadable. "I'll handle it," she said, moving toward the door with an air of authority. I was left frozen, my mind racing with possibilities. Emma's gaze remained on me, intense and curious, but now tinged with anticipation. When Mom opened the door, a neighbor's teenage son stepped in, casually, oblivious to the tension. "Hey, I heard some commotion," he said, eyes darting between Mom, me, and Emma. I felt my knees weaken. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to shed this identity and return to safety. Yet Mom's presence was commanding, and Emma's intrigued stare held me in place. "Alex has been experimenting," Mom said smoothly, her tone teasing but firm. "Isn't that right, my perfect daughter?" The word struck like a bell. I realized I was fully exposed, performing under the watchful eyes of two people who could judge, ridicule, or accept me. My pulse thundered, my palms sweaty. I wanted to shrink, to disappear, but the girl I had become didn't want to hide. Emma took a step closer, her voice soft. You're amazing, Alex." Or, should I say? The question lingered in the air. I felt both panic and thrill coiling inside me. Could I handle the scrutiny? Could I maintain composure under such intense exposure? As if on cue, my heel slipped on the polished floor, sending a small stumble through my body. My skirt fluttered, my balance teetered. Emma's eyes widened in concern, the neighbor looked surprised, and Mom's lips curved into a satisfied, knowing smile. I caught myself just in time, the symbolic moment amplifying the stakes. Every movement, every breath, every glance now mattered. My identity, my secret, my thrill, all hung by a thread. Emma reached out, steadying me with a gentle touch. "You're okay," she whispered. The closeness, the warmth, it was intoxicating, yet terrifying. I realized that my secret life, the person Mom had created, was no longer something I could control alone. Every choice, every step, carried consequences that could unravel everything. The neighbor, sensing the tension but not understanding it fully, excused himself with an awkward wave. Mom shut the door and turned to me, her eyes gleaming.
See?
"The world is watching, my perfect daughter. Can you handle it?" I swallowed hard, the weight of my dual life pressing down.
Could I?
Should I? The thrill, the fear, the exposure, it was exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. And as Emma's curious, admiring eyes remained fixed on me, I realized that the real challenge had only just begun. The suspense reached its peak. I was caught in the delicate balance between thrill and terror, between freedom and fear, between Alex and the girl Mom had molded. Every heartbeat, every movement, every breath was a test. And the resolution? It would have to wait. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the living room windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. I sat on the edge of the couch, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, trying to steady the rapid thrum of my heartbeat. Emma remained standing nearby, her eyes never leaving me, a mixture of curiosity, amusement, and something I couldn't quite name flickering across her expression. Mom hovered behind us, her posture relaxed, almost triumphant. She had orchestrated every moment of the day with precision, watching me squirm under the weight of exposure and expectation. I felt like a puppet, the strings pulled taut, yet there was a strange exhilaration in being seen. The girl I had become, the secret I had nurtured, laid bare before someone else. Emma finally broke the silence. "So, you're really going to keep living like this?" Her voice was gentle, but the underlying question struck me harder than any blunt accusation. I swallowed, my throat dry. I don't know," I admitted, my fingers fidgeting with the hem of my skirt. I guess I have to." "Mom," she made it clear. Mom stepped closer, her smile sly but controlled. "Yes, Alex. You're my perfect daughter now. And it's time you start embracing that." The weight of the words settled over me like a heavy blanket. I had tried to imagine this moment, feared it, even dreamed of it, but nothing prepared me for the intensity of living it in real time. The soft fabric of the dress against my skin, the carefully styled hair framing my face, the tiny click of my heels against the floor, all of it reminded me that I was trapped in a new reality I couldn't escape. Emma took a hesitant step closer, her hand brushing mine lightly. It looks amazing on you," she whispered, almost as if she were testing the waters, unsure whether this was admiration or disbelief. I felt a rush of conflicting emotions, pride, shame, fear, and desire, all mingling in a way that made my head spin. Then, a sudden sound pierced the fragile calm, a notification ping from my phone. I jumped, nearly tipping over, and Mom's eyes sparkled with mischief. "What is it, dear?" she asked, her tone deceptively innocent. I glanced at the screen, and my stomach sank. It was a text from Dad. "Call me when you get a chance. Urgent." Panic gripped me. Dad had never known about my crossdressing, and the thought of him discovering me like this, dressed, made up, vulnerable, was unbearable. My fingers shook as I typed a reply, stammering over words that didn't feel like mine. Emma noticed my distress and reached out, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Hey, whatever it is, you'll be okay," she murmured. The warmth of her touch was both comforting and terrifying, a reminder that I was living in two overlapping realities, Alex and the girl Mom had created. Mom's gaze shifted between us, sharp and calculating. "Alex, remember," she said, her voice soft but firm, "this is only the beginning. You can't turn back now. Not if you want to be my perfect daughter." The words echoed in my mind, mingling with the pounding of my heart. I realized that the challenge wasn't just keeping up appearances, it was maintaining my sanity, my identity, my relationships, all while navigating the precarious balance of Mom's demands. Emma's eyes lingered on me, and I saw a flicker of concern, maybe even fear. "Are you really okay?" she asked softly. "LLY, believe it." My fingers fidgeted with a strand of hair, twisting and pulling in nervous tension. The soft fabric of my dress clung to me as if mocking my uncertainty, each detail a reminder that I was trapped in a new reality I didn't fully control. Then, just as the tension reached its peak, Mom's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smirked. "Looks like someone else wants to join the fun," she said cryptically, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of amusement and threat. I froze. Another visitor? Someone who might see me, judge me, or expose my secret to the world. The adrenaline coursing through my veins made my hands tremble, my breath quicken. Emma looked at me, her expression unreadable, a mix of concern and anticipation. The doorbell rang again, louder this time, insistent. My heart raced. I was caught, Alex and the girl both fully exposed, unable to hide, unable to escape. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to flee, to strip away the persona Mom had created. But my body refused. I was trapped, living in a performance I couldn't abandon. Mom's smile widened. "Well, my perfect daughter," she said, her tone dripping with satisfaction. "Let's see how you handle this one." Emma glanced at me, her hand hovering near mine, the unspoken question clear. Could I survive what was coming? Would I maintain composure, or would my secret unravel in front of everyone? I swallowed hard, my mind racing. The thrill, the fear, the exposure, it all coiled inside me, a storm of emotions I couldn't contain. And as the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the hallway, I realized that my life had changed forever. The door opened slowly, revealing a shadowed figure. I couldn't see their face yet, but the tension was suffocating. Every heartbeat, every breath, every movement was a test. And in that moment, I understood that the journey Mom had forced me onto was only beginning. I was caught,
Exposed.
vulnerable, and utterly, irrevocably transformed.